right. Hi, Fuang. Hopefully you can hear me well now. Just give me one moment. All right. All right. Romelia says yes. Very well. Yeah, we can thank all of that to Microsoft Windows. Yeah, I know the sound should be good now. All right, everybody. Well, welcome back to the class. Anna, let me give you a chance and see if we can hear each other now. Are you ready? We're going to continue where we left off, students. I literally had to get computer savvy there, and hi, Anna. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I've changed browser. Yes, I hear you.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, that was definitely a computer savvy situation, I'll tell you.
I
So
don't
right on.
know. Before this, I have used the Edge browser from the Microsoft because I have others, and it's perfectly worked. I don't know what's happened. I checked microphone in Edge for help. Camera and microphone, it's allowed. I don't know what happens here.
But the funny situation is the same on my side. Windows, I'm using Windows 10, not Windows 11 yet, but Windows 10, and same thing. For some strange reason, Windows automatically disabled the volume on the microphone, and I had to go into a very deep setting to increase the volume to maximum, and that's the only way I was able to get it to work properly. So kind of funny that the topic is
Yeah.
about being a computer whiz, and we kind of have to be computer whizzes these days to
Yeah, I
fix
remember
these
we
issues.
spoke last week. We spoke last week on reading after updates on the website, and it was working. If it's updates, I didn't hear you last time because of updates, and I don't know how.
It's the world of computers, Anna, but you know what? It's the topic of today's class, so it's kind of a
Yeah.
funny,
Okay.
a funny overlap. All right, so Anna, you can see my screen, right?
Could you repeat the question because I closed YouTube? No.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to actually bring it up for everybody again on screen here. But, students, again, just keep in mind that the attitude for success on IELTS is actually what we experience, not often, but sometimes in the world of computers and online, where you just have to keep going, right? You just keep
Yeah.
going forward. It has to be our human nature these days. Okay, do you have YouTube open? Can you see YouTube, Anna? Or no?
Uh, just I'll log in just here.
I'll repeat the question. It's talk about a person you know that is good with computers. Who is this person? What is this person like? Why are they good with computers? What would you suggest them to do with their computer skills to be successful?
I will talk about my close friend Vlad, who is a very confident user of computer. I think he does very well for two reasons. First of all, when I had troubles with my Microsoft Office in October 2022, he really helps me not only to update my Microsoft Office was a new version, but also he downloaded a new alternative from not official Word Office, and it's still working uh, in my in my desktop. And when for some reasons Word document it doesn't work so properly, I use this alternative client. And what I like about Vlad, he is very helpful person, and he can join and our session and helps me digitally, even if one I am in his time, and he he learned the IT technology deeply because he started using his computer when he was 8, and he even remembers that his father installed Windows
Okay, your 2 minutes is
95
up.
instead of.
I'm going to stop you there and we'll go on to part three. Okay, Anna, let me give you some feedback. So, we're talking about Vlad, your friend, who is good with
Yeah.
computers, and I have some ideas around him. I would say that your response is roughly about a band six ish.
Hmm.
So, it's fluent, but it's not quite considered good yet, at least not on this topic. Um, it so you don't seem to have a clear narrative. Do you know what I mean by that? You don't
Yeah,
have a
past tenses.
what does it mean, narrative?
History, like something happens in the past, narrative tenses.
mm, no, a narrative means it's a story. Okay,
Ah, okay.
so here I would say it's no clear narrative. In order to get a band seven, so to get to be considered into that seven range where it starts to
Mhm.
become like good English, and then of course band eight, band nine for sure, you have to have a narrative in part two. Do you
Mm.
know what I mean by that? So narrative means like a story, and when I say you have to have a story, do you know what I mean by that?
Yeah, I wanted to say that he has. I forgot to describe his appearance, but when I tried this cue car at home in the morning, I did. That he has big blue eyes, and he has a wild smile, and he has borrow wave hair. He like.
Sure. So with a narrative, you have characters, right? In this case, you have the
Yeah,
character Vlad, who you briefly describe. In a story, you have a setting, a background, right?
yeah.
So, for instance, Vlad was born in Odessa back in the
Mhm.
1980s, and to a family that was always really into technology. Like I remember I've known his dad, and even his dad was always into computers, bought the first Commodore for Vlad. So it gives the setting, right, of the story. There's a lot of ways
Yeah,
to do that, but it gives the setting. And then it has to have structure, right? So there has to be like a
yeah,
first, second, third. Your response didn't feel structured. There was a point where you said, I will give two reasons for this, right? And I was listening for those two reasons because you introduced them. You said there's two reasons he's really good with computers. When you do that, ideally you want to use words like, well, firstly, Vlad is good with computers because he has been working with computers for such a long time, for 30 years. The
yeah,
second reason is that he's got a very logical, critical mind. He has always been good in math. He always got straight A's in school. He was my classmate. He's
mhm.
very good with logical patterns. He has
Yeah.
been making software since the age of 12. So, but I didn't hear those clear first, second reasons. You said there's two reasons, but I didn't know what those
Yeah,
two
it's
reasons
better
really
not to
were.
say two reasons like continue about his personality. Yes, if I'm not sure.
Yeah, exactly, Anna. So, I mean, if you're going to say two reasons, then you have to very clearly identify those two reasons.
Yeah.
If you're not going to do that, then definitely don't say it. Otherwise, it's just going to be confusing, right? Also, pay
Yeah, I
attention.
wanted to say a lot because you interrupted me, but I wanted to say that he is really patient with computers, and he even wanna learn this Java language for these programs, for these apps in computer. And every time when I call him, he like send me some screenshot of this. Computer's language, which he updates something or download new browser, how it's no written by these symbols or characters, and
Again, so Anna, it this is all great information. However, you still need to consider like where is the narrative. So where is the beginning of that story? Where's
yeah,
the middle of that story? Where's the end of that story? And this is where, like people will say, oh well, British Council says the questions are just a guide. Well, it's not just a guide, and it's a guide in the sense of it's a story guide. So
yeah,
the when you look at these cue cards, oftentimes the questions on the cue card, and making some annotations on the screen if everybody's watching. So they're not just a guide in the sense of like, here's one question, two question, but it's actually like a storyboard. It's
Four.
like a story
Four.
guide. So it says, who is the person? So basically you introduce the character, right? What is this person like? Why are they good with computers? This is where you introduce their personality backed up
Mm-hmm.
with their actions, right? And then what would you suggest to them to do with their computer skills to be successful?
I
That
didn't
last,
answer this. Yeah.
no, you didn't answer this question. And the reason it's important to answer this question isn't just to satisfy all of the task, but it's also your narrative, right? So this would be like
Yeah.
the conclusion or the climax to the narrative, to the story. So
Mm-hmm.
I think Vlad could do a lot more with his computer skills than what he has done so far. Although he makes enough money to make ends meet, I think he could get a high level executive job at a company like Google and earn more than a hundred
Yeah,
thousand US
he
per
needs to be
year.
more confident. Yeah, he needs to be more confident in his like presentation for a job employer because he had some opportunities, but he decided not to change his job. It's yeah.
Okay, perfect. So see now that kind of language, if you're using that instead of giving a lot more detail about his personality, once you've done a little bit, when you include that and then you create that idea in the listener, like, okay, this is Vlad now, this is where he could be, this is what I would suggest to him, then you have
Mm,
that end to the story and then you have a narrative. And that's why
mm,
it's so important to answer all the questions on the cue card so that you have that
mm.
complete story within the 2 minutes. That's the trick, right? Is
Yeah.
keeping it to 2 minutes. And so I do think, Anna, that with your English you could get a 6.5 or a 7 without too much more effort, as long as you have a better narrative. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. I focused on reading and a little bit like lose my skills to make to answer cue cards because last I answered on cue cards 2 months ago, I think, and I focus only on reading. Yeah, and I need to work on a little bit
It's
on this.
time for a refresher. But Anna, thank you so much for hanging in there through all these
Yeah,
technical
and
issues.
after these details about his personality, this he needs to be more confident. It increases my new cue card. What? No score.
Yeah, of course. If you explain that, I think Vlad is a great person. However, I do think he needs to be more confident to uh,
Mm,
get more value from his computer skills. I feel that currently the company he is working for underpays and undervalues him. He should apply to bigger, more profitable positions in companies like Google, for instance, and that's what I would recommend for him for the future. And then I don't think he would just be really great with computers, but also he would be very strong financially. And then it finishes your narrative, right, Anna? So something
yeah,
like that.
and I also wanted to say this before you interrupted me. This he what looks after his father, who also was a big fan of IT technologies, and he has this passion like from in his blood.
Yeah,
Uh,
so exactly. So that would be his background. That would be like that would be the setting. Okay, Anna, thank you so much for volunteering.
Thank you so much for giving me a second chance. I don't know what happened with this browser. I checked setting, all is allowed. I don't know what is this.
That's the world
Probably
of
it's Ukrainian.
computers.
It's Ukrainian like services checking
I don't.
something.
It's not just. I don't think so, Anna. Like I said, I had. So the reason why we had such a tricky situation is because I think we were probably experiencing issues on both ends. So I was experiencing issues, and you were as well. But we figured it out, so it's all good.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
Anna.
I will use this browser next. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you for giving me a
Bye,
chance. Yeah.
Anna. You're welcome. Bye. All right, that was Anna. Fuang, let's check in with Fuang. Okay, Fuang, are you ready? Yeah, great job, Anna. Absolutely, and I appreciate students hanging in there. Yeah, it's strange, the world of computers sometimes, for sure. They seem to have a mind of their own at times, especially Windows. Hi, Fuang.
Hi, sir.
All right. You can hear me nice and loud now, right?
Yes, sir. I can hear you nice and loud.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, that was, let me tell you, it was one of the stranger software situations I've seen in the last little while, but I'm glad I was able to figure that out. Okay, Fuang, are you ready to give this cue card a shot?
I'm ready, sir.
All right, let's do it. So that is the end of part one. Let's continue with part two. Talk about a person you know that is good with computers. Your 1 minute preparation time is up. Please begin speaking.
Okay. I want to talk about Bao Zhong, who is my cousin. Is a great, extreme, test-savvy man with professional computer skill, and I have known him for at least 20 years. He is one of the youngest person in my family, a handsome 26-year-old Vietnamese man with brown hair, dark eyes, 180 centimeters tall, and on time well dressed with black shoes, golden glasses, and now he working as a several IT programmer, specializing in computer games and software in Ho Chi Minh City. From an early age, my cousin had a massive passion with technology such as electronic devices as well dealing with difficult numbers in math and science. So after successfully pursuing his bachelor degree in computer science, he has made a bunch of money for many years, not only designing multimedia computer products, but also handling development instructions for computer software. My person can be considered a hardworking beast every time. I contact him, he always based on writing codes and be up to date with his working schedule from 8 a.m. in the morning until 8 p.m. in the evening. Given the chance to suggest my cousin to upgrade his computer skills, it would not only enhance his knowledge daily about modern technology, but also develop his planning and projects into reality in the future.
Okay, I'll stop you there. Your 2 minutes is up. And we'll go on to part three. For part three, I will ask you questions related to your response. Okay, Fuang, to be perfectly honest, you're a little bit quiet on your end now. So I'm loud, but you're a little bit and you've got a lot of background noise, as I was just about to say. But what's interesting, Fuang, is even though I didn't catch every word that you were saying, I caught your narrative. And that's why, I was really listening attentively. So you talked about your cousin. You explained that you've known him for 20 years. You gave us a little bit about what he looks like: brown hair, dark eyes, well dressed, 180 centimeters. You talked about the fact that he works in computers in Ho Chi Minh City, and he handles government contracts. He's got a bachelor's degree in computer science, and that if you had the chance, you would recommend that he upgrade some of his computer skills to learn some of the modern technology that's out there so that he can do more. So the narrative, even though I couldn't hear you clearly, the narrative was very clear. You had a very good kind of storyline. Does that make sense? Okay, so I would say that your band score here would be like a band 7 to 7.5 because it's good communication, it's good English. Okay, it's not a fair evaluation in the sense that I didn't hear you well enough. So ideally, we'd be sitting in the same room quietly so I could hear you better. But just based on the vocabulary, the narrative, it would definitely be seven in the exam room. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay, so that was really, really well done. Um, Nothing else really to give you as feedback right now. Just keep doing what you're doing for him because I can hear that you're improving. You're definitely improving. Your pronunciation is
Okay, sir.
all right, Fong. Stay safe. It sounds extremely busy and noisy wherever you are. So,
Yeah, it's almost Christmas in my country, so everyone go down to the street until midnight for Christmas, sir.
that's yeah, I can tell. It's loud. It's busier than usual. Okay, Fong. Stay safe and have a good holiday. Okay.
Yeah, I wish you Merry Christmas, sir. Have a
Thank you
nice
so
day.
much. Bye, Fong.
Bye.
All right. Wow. Sounds busy there in Ho Chi Minh. Okay, let's try Ivan. Ivan, are you there? Ivan says I'd like to volunteer if there's nobody else. There are other people, Ivan, but you're more than welcome to volunteer. Okay, thanks for all the thumbs up, everybody, for Ivan. Hi, Domenico, by the way. Nice to see you as well. Okay, Ivan, if you're still hanging out, yeah, there you are.
Hello, sir.
How are you, Ivan?
Thanks for asking. I'm good. What about you? How's
I'm
your morning going?
Well, it was a little bit bumpy with the technology, but we figured it out. So anytime that I overcome a challenge, it makes me feel good for sure. I don't know if you saw what happened earlier in the class there,
Yep, I
but
saw. I
yeah,
saw.
it was really weird. Like I restarted the computer twice, nothing changed, and then I went really deep into the microphone settings just to give everybody clarity if you're curious about this. And for some strange reason, the microphone volume deep in the settings of Windows was at like 10%. And when I turned it to 20, 30, 40, nothing really happened. And then when I turned it all the way to 100, suddenly it started working.
Interesting.
Strange. I've saved that. That was my thought exactly. I'm like, it's software. It's not a physical button. How does that? I don't know. It was weird. Anyway,
Did you try? Did you try reinstalling drivers?
that would be ultimately the next step, is upgrading and reinstalling drivers, but you know how that goes. That's a bit of a headache as well. So that's
Yes.
definitely not something
Yes.
I wanted to do at 6 o'clock in the morning, or that's something I'll do in the afternoon if I have to. But the strange thing is like with the volume cranked all the way up, it works perfectly fine. So I don't know why. It's really weird. But yeah, that was my thought as well. Ivan is drivers. Okay. Anyhow, okay, let's jump into this. Are you ready for this question?
Yes, I am.
Okay, here we go. So talk about a person you know that is good with computers.
Okay, I would like to talk about my former student. His name is Daniel. When I was teacher, he was one of my students in my groups in information security related modules. Uh, he has very regular appearance, nothing special. From my point of view, he's slightly younger than me. Black hair, height is about 1 meter 70 centimeters. And I think people like him do good with computers because of their curiosity and practice. And of course, it should be the opportunity to apply this too. For example, if such a person or student or some person has spare computer which he can experiment with, for example, disassemble and assemble, etc. It will develop more deeper understanding of how computer is composed or organized, I would say. And in general, I would advise such kind of people don't forget about this kind of curiosity thing and apply these skills as much as possible. Probably it will help to find some job in the information technology field or something related to computers, for example, programming, or just be better in their own specialty because of the way of thinking, how it is developed during
Okay.
the
Your 2 minutes is up. I'm going to stop you there. All right, Ivan. Good and bad. So you're doing some aspects very well. You're definitely you need to be really careful with some other aspects. So you started with a narrative. You started with a story about. It sounded like his name was Daniel or Daniel.
Daniel.
Danior with an R at the end.
Yep.
Danior. Yeah, I heard like, of course, I'm thinking of an English name here, so Daniel, but it was Danior. Okay, so close. And I really liked the start. So he said, I would like to talk about my former student. Now, even in this context, it's just better to just directly say my former student, Danior, is certainly a person who comes to mind when I think of a computer savvy individual. Can you say that after me? So I'll say it one more time. My former student, Danior, is certainly a person who comes to mind when I think of a computer savvy individual.
My former student Daniel is certainly someone who comes to mind when I think about computer savvy individual.
Okay, very nice. It's a very nice direct sentence. And then you mentioned specifically he works on information security modules. I definitely would have liked to hear more about what that is, and that story of how he got to working in that field.
I get it.
If you know that would have been interesting, more detailed, and would have led to better language. The biggest issue here, and likely why many examiners would have interrupted you before your 2 minutes is up, is because you started with the individual, which was correct about the card, and then you generalized it to people who are good with computers. So
that's because they are confusing the questions in the cue cards. It's about the first two is about single person, and the second two questions about they.
Okay, that is an interesting.
That's why I have switched.
So in English, when we don't know the gender of the person, whether it's a he or a she, we refer to that single person as a they.
Okay.
IELTS sometimes, to help people who don't know this part of English, will say, why is he, she? So they'll do it like that. If you're looking at the screen, I just choose why is he, she.
Usually I do the same, he, she, through slash.
Yeah, but if we don't know the gender, we use the word they, and this actually precedes this new kind of gender revolution or gender movement. Now it's even more common. So now when you're in a lot of English-speaking countries, it'll be he, she, they, them, their. So they actually use those when a person does not identify as either male or female, but as gender neutral, or they also use the word non-binary nowadays for certain individuals. So it's becoming quite interesting in many ways. But certainly even before this, so even before this new kind of gender revolution, let's say, English has traditionally used they, them when we are unfamiliar with the gender. So in this case, it's not generalizing. See, what would you suggest to them to do with their? It's all talking about that one person. So I understand how that could be confusing, but it's still just about that one person.
I understood.
Generally speaking, and this is for everybody who's watching, IELTS will not ask you to switch topics. So the subject will always be the same, so within the one question. So in part 2, if they're asking you to talk about one object, that's the one single object that you talk about, or one single person.
Okay.
They won't ask you to generalize. Yeah, so now I understand why you did that, but no, here the key is to focus on the one single person. Okay, so you wouldn't want to change that in your narrative.
And I wouldn't if I wouldn't be confused, I wouldn't switch.
Yeah, so the way you want to say that, Ivan, is if I had known this rule in English,
okay.
I would not have. It's the all these negative, right? So it's a tricky one. Repeat after me. This is good advanced grammar. So if I had known this rule, I would not have changed the subject.
If I would know this rule, if I would have known this rule, I wouldn't have changed the subject.
One more time. If I had known this rule.
If I had known this rule, I wouldn't have changed the subject.
The subject. Changed the subject. Yes.
I say changed. It's a dictionary problem.
Yeah, you want to really pronounce that d there,
okay.
So it's clear.
Okay,
Ivan, good. So we identified an important point there, and that's great learning. You are getting better, though, with the smoothness of your language. So it didn't feel as broken as when I was speaking to you previously. It felt more connected, just not relevant enough. Okay, so focus on relevance as well. All right?
Okay.
All right, Ivan, thank you for volunteering, and thank you for hanging
in there. Feedback. Thank you.
All right, bye, Ivan. Okay, that was Ivan. Yeah, good guy for sure. All right, everybody. Good. Domenico, thank you for putting that in the chat. I appreciate you. Domenico, if you want to become a channel moderator, let me know, because you're kind of doing that sometimes, and you know, we can make you a channel moderator if you want to just hang out here regularly, and we'd love to have you. Okay, students, I'm going to come back to the website here in 30 minutes and continue with speaking part 3 using the live class on the website, and then we'll get into some speaking part 3 questions about computer knowledge and being computer savvy, computer technical skills, which we actually had to use today, some of us, including myself, to make this all work, but we made it work. And staying the course, hanging in there, it's key to success. So I appreciate everybody for doing that and being patient with me in this stream. For everybody watching, check out the website aehelp.com for academic IELTS and gieltshelp.com for general IELTS. Hopefully I will see all of you in half an hour on the website on aehelp.com for the live session there for speaking part 3. Bye Anahita, bye Domenico, bye Fuang, bye Ivan, Romelia. We'll see you soon.